We think about the fact that our founding fathers of our country understood their relationship with Christ in this way. And so they understood that citizenship is of great importance. Did you know that there is no civil authority that exists except that comes from God? You know, the Apostle Paul wrote the words of Romans chapter 13. It's very interesting when you look at it. He says, "Let every soul be subject to the governing authorities. There is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God." Do you know he penned those words in the day of Nero, the Caesar of Rome, who is considered the ancient Antichrist? And because there were numerical numbers tied to the characters of the alphabet, his name spells out 666. And the Apostle Paul says that these governing authorities have been set up by God. He goes on to say in verse number 4 that that's 14, I think. Well, we got it mixed up, but I'll go on to tell you. It says he is God's minister. The government is God's minister. The Greek word there is diakonos. It means he is God's deacon to you for good and not for evil, unless you do evil. God set up government. God created government. Government is designed to be a deacon for good. That's why the Apostle Peter says in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse number 17, "Honor all people, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the king." The state is a minister of God, even if it's a pagan one. So when we talk about the love of country, we are talking about something that's very important for us to understand. Our founding fathers understood it very well. We have out there in the narthex foyer area a statue that honors the founders of the United States of America and the 5 principles that they established this country upon. And the first one was faith in God. If a country loses its faith in God, if this country loses its faith in God, it will enter into the realms of the curse. And they knew that. So what is patriotism? It is an expression of love for our nation. Let me tell you what patriotism is not. It is not nationalism. Nationalism is considered in that concept the highest good, and its interests are the highest good, even exceeding the good of Christ and his kingdom. And so God's not telling us to be nationalist, because no nation ever endures forever. Only the church of the Lord Jesus will endure forever. You'll remember we say it every single Sunday, and his kingdom will have no end. So patriotism is a love of country. It is not nationalism. America is also not internationalism, where, as our former President Obama says, we are a citizen of the world. Oh, we're inhabitants of the earth, but we are not citizens of every single country on the earth. The truth of the matter is, when we think about internationalism, we can see that it's all tied in with globalism, and we can see that really this turns every one of us into some kind of vague abstraction. Patriotism is also not imperialism, the policy of extending power and dominion of the nation through direct conflict and territorial acquisition. Patriotism is not imperialism. Patriotism is not Hollywood either. It is not cosmopolitan. Can you say that with me? Cosmopolitanism. I've said that word 50 times practicing for this sermon. Cosmopolitanism. Hollywood just really doesn't think we need our country. We need our country. Listen, Patriotism is a love of our country. As Jeremiah 29:7 says, seek the peace of the city. Seek the peace of the city where I've caused you to be carried away. And there pray to the Lord for it, for in its peace you will find peace. Our spiritual life is tied up with the love of our country. It's so important that we love our country. I love what Father Josiah Trenholm says. Love the soil that makes your dinner. Isn't that a good statement? Love the soil that makes your dinner. So, patriotism is not nationalism. It's not internationalism. It's not cosmopolitanism. It's not globalism. It's not imperialism. It is a love of our country, our nation and its foundations.